And welcome in. It's in-game live game day. Hour number 3 of our 4-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden, watching the Biggie college basketball. Number 1 Auburn handling number 2 Alabama. Tide not going away. Every single time I turn around, they're making a little bit of a run. But they are down double digits as Auburn is really, they cut it to 6. Check that. No longer down double digits, Joe. 63-57. We're up to 120 points. Still need 50 plus with 10 minutes left. But as we talked about last hour, that 10, 15 point deficit that it's been basically this entire second half does lead to points because Alabama's really get the sense of urgency. So hold on to those tickets. Don't rip those up. And now it's down to 3. Ooh, I should have made a note and saw what the biggest line was for Alabama when they were down. I mean, they were down 15 at one point.
Plus 920 was the biggest spread that we had, Scott. So if you
Remember,
jumped in at plus 920, you got a shot right now. This is a one ball from deep from tying it up. 63-60 game here with Auburn with the lead. The books have made that spread 2.5, Scott. So we were seeing Auburn up to 11.5 point favorite as well. That total climbing back up. Glad to see we got 166.5. I think, no, 165.5 was the lowest we saw, right? Because it's now 171.5, juiced highly to that over at minus 120. This is a great game. I'm glad Bama's getting back into it. Scott, both of us are holding overtime tickets in this game. Come on. Yes. This is a one basket game here.
I know this goes without saying, but you have to say it anyway, right? I mean, when 3-point shooting teams like Alabama hits their threes, but they look unstoppable. When they don't, they look god-awful. And they look god-awful for the longest time, right? 2 of 19 they were at one point. I mean, when you clank 3 after missed 3 after missed 3, you're like, how is this team ranked number 2 in the nation, right? Now, all of a sudden, you hit some of those threes or just shots in general, and, now you understand why they're, number 2 in the nation. It really is kind of weird. You just, it's shooting. You just shoot the ball. So they're shooting a little bit better. They got one more 3. That's not where it's coming. They're actually getting the ball inside a little bit. So they're shooting almost 40%. It's only a 3-point game now. So, yeah, little overtime would be perfect. And speaking of overtime, Joe, 49 seconds left. In my overtime round robin parlay, we put in 5 games. We parlay 2 of them. It's a two gamer. Normally it's 2-teamer, but it's a 2-gamer. So we need 2 to hit at least one time. I got Minnesota and USC, as you see there. And that game is 66-63, 49 seconds left. So we got a shot to get that one into overtime. And if that one goes to overtime, now we just need one of the remaining 4, and we'll win at least $200. So, and that's why I figured we'd have a shot at some of this stuff and do them. The 4 o'clock games. Threw a couple 4 o'clock gamers in there.
Look at how tight these games are, Scott. Some of these games, Texas State, South Alabama, I'm seeing second half. This has to be the end of the second half, right? 60-60 for these teams. Yeah, they just went into overtime. So that one is going to overtime. We have Old Dominion versus Georgia Southern. They are down here at 77-72. Looks like that one is just wrapping up, though. But another tight game. Jacksonville State versus Louisiana Tech. We got a 1-point game with 16 seconds left. Jacksonville State leading that one 67-66. So that's going to be a hard last 16 seconds for them to hold on to that lead there. But some great games out there on the hardwood. Any others that are catching your eye that are super tight, Scott?
Yeah, California, Georgia Tech tied at 79 with 15 seconds left. I'm trying to remember if I considered that one. They don't offer overtime bets in all the games. They may have with that one, but I didn't. I wonder why I didn't do that, because that was a close game, too. That was a low point spread. That was a 4 o'clock game.
I think 3.5.
I didn't want to do too many 4 o'clock games, and we had the 2 already. I just think I was going to push it off until later on, but man. Who knows? They might not be going to overtime, but they are going to overtime. Son of a gun. Oh, why didn't I choose that one, Joe? That was a 3.5 point. You said it. That was a low spread, 3.5 point spread. Fudge.
I don't know. I mean, maybe you just weren't feeling it, Scott. And we're going to get Bama and
Yeah.
Auburn here. That was a plus 1,500 one. So let's go with that one. Minnesota and USC, 23 seconds left. Still a 1-point game there. Yeah, 65, USC 66. Come on. You got that one to go to overtime, right?
Yes, that's the one. So I'm guessing,
Okay.
because that was 66-63, so I'm guessing Minnesota hit a bucket to make it 66-65. I'm assuming they're going to foul, and USC, even if they hit both free throws, will still only be up 3 with 23 seconds left. We got a shot. Even if they hit one, I think I'd almost prefer them hitting hit both free throws. This way, they need to take a 3 to tie versus them taking a 3 to win it, like a lot of these teams do. So, but we're definitely got a shot there. Absolutely. So, keep your fingers crossed on that one.
Hold your breath.
Iowa State 80-70 over Cincinnati. Boy, that they get some wacky scores today that just don't make any sense. The Dookie Pukies are going to hit about 175 points. In fact, I think that one just ended. They had 95 points last time I checked with like 3 minutes left. So the worst case scenario happened with that one. Yeah, Duke wins 106-70. Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of points. They never called off the dogs then. Like, I would love to look at the breakdown of that game to see if they ever called those players off the court, because that's a ton of points for Duke to be able to put up on the board. And I know I love betting Duke, and I love looking at Cooper Flagg to come out nice and strong, but I don't remember too many games where they really blow teams out of the water like they just did to Stanford, Scott. Like, they win, but not like big blowout like that.
I will tell you, right, and Stanford was dead in the water from the beginning. This was a 15-point game at half. They were leading by double digits 2 minutes into this game, right? Classy Dookie Pukey. They win by 36. Bench players in this game. You think you're leading by double digits the whole way. What did they score? 40 points, close to half, 45 maybe. They scored 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21, 24 points. The starters scored 72 points. They kept those guys in there, Joe, the whole way. I don't know if it was senior day today. I don't think so. We're too early in the season for senior day, but Proctor scored 23. Flagg scored 19. James scored 14. These guys played monster minutes. So, all right. Sometimes you're wrong. The under clearly was wrong. At least it wasn't a sweat. At least you knew right from the get-go that under was not coming in. It never.
That's the best way.
57 points second half they scored.
Wow. I can't believe they came out that strong. But you're right. Rip off that Band-Aid. If I'm losing a bet, Scott, I want to know right out of the gate that it is done.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. On to the next one. Auburn by 3, 68-65. Points are coming. Bama's hitting their shots. Once a 9, really, plus 9 to 1 underdog. So what? Auburn was probably minus 11 to 1 favorite. Auburn is now getting odds plus 6 as Bama has tied it up. Wow. Oh, yeah. We're coming up.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in-game live game day here on the grid. Some great college basketball games going on. We got the NBA All-Star festivities we'll get into a little bit later on. We got the Four Nations tournament continuing tonight with USA and Canada. And we got the Genesis Invitational, a little golf action with a lot of the big boys playing this weekend. So let's welcome in our good buddy. You see and hear him all the time here on the grid, Brady Cannon. What's going on, Brady? How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, guys. Good to be with you. And yeah, you're right. This is a big boy golf tournament. The Genesis Invitational is always a beauty. And traditionally, it's played at Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California. We know the devastating fires, really the hub of the fires, were right in Pacific Palisades. And thank goodness, no damage to the Riviera Country Club, but they certainly had to move this tournament. So we're going back to Torrey Pines, where we were just a few weeks ago. I hit Harris English here a few weeks ago at the Farmers Insurance Open, hoping to catch another winner here for round 2 at Torrey Pines. But this is a beast of a golf course. This Torrey Pines has hosted 2 U.S. Opens. You may remember in 2008 when Tiger won, and 2021 when John Rahm won. And that's, kind of the guys that we have at the top of the leaderboard here. Tommy Fleetwood, Ludwig Oberg. Scotty Scheffler was there, and he just made double bogey to drop him back to -4. He's now 5 shots off the lead, and that was followed by a double bogey by Rory McIlroy. So he's now at -2, 7 shots off the lead. I think, the number 1 favorite and the number 2 favorite coming in pre-tournament, Scotty and Rory, I don't know. I think they're out of it at this point with maybe one hole just took away their chances right there on a Saturday with 1 round left to go.
Okay, now you said it. You said those favorites coming into this, Brady. So with them falling down and looking pretty out of it right now, what are you looking for in the live betting market? Who do you think has the opportunity to pull off the win?
Well, I've got a pre-tournament ticket on Ludwig Oberg, so I'm really rooting for him. And I actually think he's a pretty good bet in running wagering as well. He should be in the neighborhood of about 3-1. Let me check him here on FanDuel. Yeah, exactly. Plus 300 on FanDuel right now, which I don't think is a bad price. He's probably the best player as far as talent at the top of the board. You've got Patrick Rogers there, kid who went to Stanford, and then also Denny McCarthy. Those are 2 guys that are both looking, they're pretty much veterans on the PGA Tour, especially Rogers. but both are looking for their very first PGA Tour win. And believe me, if they're still at the top of the leaderboard come Sunday, they're probably going to be in the final pairing, against this type of field, a signature event at an iconic golf course like this. That is going to be a ton of pressure on those two guys. So even though they've got a little bit of a lead right now, I don't think I'd be betting on them to get the job done. Oberg is certainly one of the most talented players in the world. He's been there and done that before. Davis Thompson got his first PGA Tour win last summer, and I really like the way his game is going. He's fallen off a little bit. He's 3 over par today, but he's very good off the tee. He's been very good on approach, and really the putter has just let him down. And we've talked about this before, guys. The putter is the most volatile skill set. It can get really hot in a hurry. It can go really cold in a hurry. So if he's doing everything else really well, which is really the same thing with Oberg, excellent off the tee, excellent with the irons. But, if it's only the putter that's keeping you behind and you're still right there in the thick of it, all it takes is a couple of putts hold, a couple of long putts made on Sunday, and that can be the difference between winning and losing. So Thompson and Oberg, Joe, would be my best bets right now as far as, getting involved. And I'd probably wait until the end of the day today, let the dust settle, see what happens heading into Sunday, and look at those two guys. And then if there was a long shot out there, I'd also take a look at Tommy Fleetwood, who's really got, everything going for him. He's second in this field right now for strokes gained approach, number 1 in greens in regulation. He's putting well. He just was a little bit inaccurate off the tee today, and that's unlike Fleetwood, who's typically very accurate off the tee. So, and we're not expecting a lot of wind on Sunday. So I think Tommy can get that worked out. And, Tommy Fleetwood, Ludwig Oberg, certainly a couple of the most talented guys near the top of the leaderboard. And Thompson, he kind of had his one bad round today, it seems. And if he can, right that ship and get back to where he was on Sunday, then he should be right there as well.
All right. I think I know the answer to this. I'll commit a broadcasting sin. Don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. But all of us do this from time to time, right? So I put in Aberg twice. As Cam, we had Cam on Wednesday. He's rattling off the guys, and he was one of the guys. And don't ask how, but I actually put him in Brady twice. So they're offering me 4-1 on the bet. Would you bail on one of those bets? Or are you so confident in him that hold on to both tickets?
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up because I have a pre-tournament bet on Oberg, okay? And last night I was looking at Davis Thompson at 5-1. I think he was 4-1 last night. And I was like, do I want to add him? And I was about to hit submit, and I said, you know what? I'm going to back off because this is still when Scotty and Rory were kind of right there breathing down everybody's neck. And I said, I've already got Oberg. I don't, I only want to make this bet if I really think he is absolutely going to win, and I'm not sure of that. So I laid off, and I'm just going to stick with Oberg. I also have Fleetwood pre-tournament, but he's a longer shot. He's, 25 or 30-1. But Oberg could be the favorite going into tomorrow. If he's not the favorite, he's going to probably be the second or third choice for sure. And so, I backed off. I'm confident. I'm more confident with Oberg probably at this point than Davis Thompson or that decision I was facing last night. So to answer your question, no, I would just stick with what you have. I think he's probably, like I say, the most talented player at the top of the leaderboard right now. And Rogers and McCarthy, that pressure at this stage in their careers to get their first PGA Tour win on a venue like this, in a tournament like this, with all the stars, that's a lot of pressure, man. I'd go with Oberg. Let's root him home.
All right, there you go. So we're talking a little golf with Brady Cannon. Yeah, I mean, Joe and I joke about this all the time. I mean, once a month, 2 months, right? You'll hit an over when you went under, or you'll hit the favorite when you meant to hit the underdog, or sometimes you actually hit the same bet twice. So talk about Brady Cannon. We'll get the first one from him. Coming up here on the show.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins. St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 3 of our 4-hour extravaganza. Coming up after us, the man we're talking to right now, Brady Cannon, along with Tom Vecchio from 8 to midnight Eastern time right here on the grid. Talking a little golf, the Genesis Invitational. So are you surprised, Brady, with the leaderboard? We had some monster names, in this tournament, but, for the most part, Scotty Scheffler's up there a little bit, Cantlay's up there a little bit, but, for the most part, it's going to be not an unknown, but, Aberg's pretty good, but you know what I'm talking about. It's not one of the main guys. Are you surprised about that?
I am a little surprised after what we saw yesterday. Scotty and Rory, again, the top 2 guys on the odds board pre-tournament, were in position. They were absolutely lurking, and they were the 2 favorites to go ahead and close this deal. Now, the weather cooperated today, and it's supposed to tomorrow. This is the easiest we've seen the course play so far. I mentioned this is a real beast of a golf course. This is a very, very tough track. But the first day you had rain, and it was wet, and it was windy, and it was just brutal. It was like U.S. Open type conditions with weather on top of that. And then Friday wasn't any easier. Today they finally got a break in the weather. But guys, because of the difficulty of the golf course and the thickness of that rough, if you miss a fairway, it's almost like a guaranteed bogey. And so some guys were still struggling. By the way, Scheffler just made another bogey. He's now -3, so 6 shots off the lead. So I'm surprised that, of all the people that struggled today, right now it's Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler. That is a little bit surprising. Oberg is not surprising to me. He's done well here before. We know he's a world-class talent. And Patrick Rogers is not completely surprising because he has this type of game. He's a very long hitter, and he putts well. And he often shows up on leaderboards, but again, he's never had a win in his career. Denny McCarthy, the same way, but he does it a different way. He's maybe got the best short game in the world, not a big powerhouse off the tee. But again, both of those guys have never been able to close the deal in their career. And I just don't see them being able to get it done here on a course of this magnitude, a tournament of this magnitude. I think Oberg is probably the guy that I would lean on to get it done. And then also maybe Davis Thompson, because he did pick up his first PGA Tour win last summer. So he's kind of got that experience under his belt. And despite the round today, he had been playing very steady golf. If he can get back to that form on Sunday, I think he's going to be right there as well.
I love where you're going with that. And I'm trying to look, Brady, here at some of these top 5 finishers and where we can find value. Now, you threw out Thompson. For him to finish in the top 5, it's coming in at plus 185. I know you're looking at Tommy Fleetwood as well for that longer shot for him to finish in the top 5. Again, another plus 185 value there. And then Scotty Scheffler, we know he was one of the front runners coming into this. He's hit another bogey, but still, Scotty Scheffler to finish in that top 5 at plus 110. Is there one of the 3 that you would like more so for the top 5 position?
I would not have a problem with Fleetwood or Thompson at all. I think that's a pretty decent price, almost 2-1, especially Thompson, who's already, I believe, in the top 5 currently, or awful close anyway. But I don't think that's a great price on Scotty. Now, you know, Joe Ranieri and I were laughing about this. I mean, if you bet Scotty Scheffler to finish top 5 or top 10 every week, you're probably going to make a lot of money. It's going to cost you some money, but he seems to do it every week. And boy, the way it's going right now, you just don't know. Like I said, today seemed to be, it is definitely the easiest day they've had so far, and yet it's been the toughest day on Scheffler. So, you know, when I'm only getting plus 110 or, you know, basically even money, no, I wouldn't want to go there on him. But you mentioned Fleetwood, Thompson. You know, Justin Thomas is another guy at plus 250. He had a nice round today. Tony Finau went really low today. And a lot of times when a guy goes really low one day, they're not able to necessarily replicate that in a follow-up round the next day. So I don't really want to go down that path. But Thompson, Fleetwood, and maybe Justin Thomas for a couple of long shots to finish top 5.
What'd you make of Tiger Woods' decision? I mean, listen, you can't criticize him, right? His mom passes away, so you know he skips the Genesis, but is going to play in the TGL match. Which, how do you like that stuff, by the way?
You know, it's really interesting. I think the technology of it is what is really fascinating about it. And I think it's fun this time of year with not a whole lot to do on a Monday and Tuesday night to watch guys, you know, have a competitive little indoor simulated golf scene with fans going nuts. It's pretty cool. And you can bet on it.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out where the ball goes. I don't see the ball hitting the screen. I don't get it. Brady Cannon, great job. He'll take over after we're done at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins. St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Thanks again to Brady Cannon joining us. He'll take over in about an hour and 45 minutes or so, hour and a half. Him and Tom Vecchio until 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. to midnight Eastern time as they continue along here on the Grid. I got it's true, Joe. I put it in twice. We do it all the time. We're in the middle of a show. You get distracted. And so I hit the Aberg in twice because that was one of Cam's guys when we had him on Wednesday. So I don't have it for a lot, a couple shekels, just to kind of follow along with Cam's picks. So they were offering me 4-1. Then it went up to almost 6-1 on a buyout. And then I just watched the leader bogey. So now Aberg is only 2 shots back, and yet they lowered the cash out to now it's only not even 4-1. So
they heard you talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. I think they heard Brady say they really like Aberg so much, so they lowered the cash out. Because I was going to take at least one of my 2 bets. I wouldn't have taken both, but I was going to take one of them and say, all right, let me bail, and I don't have to cover the rest of my bets that I had with all the other losers. But they lowered it. So, and he's done. So the leader bogeyed. So he was 3 back. Now he's only 2 back. There is one guy still on the course, McCarthy. I'm assuming McCarthy, my TV is like an hour and a half behind. I'm assuming he birdied. So now there's 2 guys at -8 as Aberg's at -6. But why would you give me 5.5-1 and now you're not even giving me 4-1? Unbelievable.
It's kind of surprising, right? Really surprising that they're only giving you that, Scott. But I definitely think maybe they, looking at like the fact that you have 2 of those bets, knowing that you'd probably cash out one, and then they don't want to give you 6-1 for that. And most people 4-1, yeah, you still cash out, right? So I think that's probably where the books are going.
Probably. I mean, he is 22-1 to win. That'd be nice to win. Boy, it's hard enough winning 1 bet, let alone 2, right? If I don't cash out, there's not a chance in the world. You talk about the Wetzel Black Cloud. This Ludwig Aberg, he's got no shot. He's got less than no shot to win this tournament if I hold on to both these bets. There's no way in the world I'm going to make a mistake and put him in twice and have him win. No way. No freaking way. So
so cash out on both. Do everyone a favor that is rolling with him there in that one, because then you're going to be kicking yourself that you cashed out on both of them. Right? Yeah. That's how he wins. Right? I'm going to hold off.
Let me see if this guy McCarthy, who's just teeing off, I think. Let me see if he didn't clearly birdie. So, I mean, he's just teeing off. Well, I tell you, it's amazing. You look at these golf courses and you don't appreciate how narrow the fairways are. Every once in a while, like I was just watching over here, and they had it must have been on some wire or something, but they showed it from the sky down, and the fairways are so narrow. I mean, it's really, this is not like your average course where you could go 100 yards right and 100 yards left and still be on the fairway, right? These guys got about 60 yards to play with here. It's remarkable. It really is. So, but I'll hold off. I'll wait and see what this guy McCarthy does, and then maybe they bump it back up to, 5.5-1. I give me at least, because you got to remember, the cash out includes your bet. So it's not, you just kind of forget that. It's like, don't forget, they took the money out of your account already. It's not like your local Louis the Lip, where, you're betting on credit. They've taken your bet out of your account. So you got to include that as part of the cash out. So right now it is almost 5-1. They gave me a couple of extra pennies. So if I get it over 5-1, I'll bail on one of the 2 bets. I will. So.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would do exactly the same, Scott, especially 5-1. That is a great return out there. We've got such a tight game here between Auburn and Alabama. Right now, it's actually Auburn sunk another basket, so 84-78. Bama keeps trying so hard to get back into this game, but every time they get it close within 5 points, we see Auburn just be able to answer back with those baskets. So there's 2 minutes and change left. And I'm seeing here plus 1,400 for Alabama. That's just crazy out here. They need this win. They absolutely do. This is hard for them to lose this one by this many points, but I don't know. It looks like Auburn, they're just too strong for them today, Scott.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. I'm not saying it's going to go in, but I would rather be on the over 173.5 versus the under right now. You're at 85-78. They just hit another shot, another three, right? Or is it a free throw? It's a free throw. Okay, my bad. Yeah, because they were up 6, right? So they hit the second free throw. So we're at 86-78. That's 164 points. There's 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. We have a chance to hit 180, believe it or not, in 2 minutes and 14 seconds. If Alabama does what most teams do, drive to the lane, take the easy bucket. Auburn's head coach is yelling and screaming, Bruce Pearl, don't foul, don't foul, don't foul, right? They get the easy 2. They're going to foul, Alabama, send them to the free throw line. That 173, 3.5, whatever number it was to start the game. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but it's looking halfway decent. It really is.
We're going over, Scott. We're not jinxing it. We're just clearly going over this game. Let's go.
I'll do everything in the world not to say it's going to go over, and you just spit it out like, oh, yeah, it's going over.
We're not jinxing it. I'm not believing it's a jinx. There's no way.
Don't jinx it. Good gravy. We'll have like 5 clunk shots. No one could hit another shot from here on out. So, you're funny. All right, so
we're going to get it.
Out. I think we are. I think we are. And I think anyone that put in the 170s, you got a halfway decent shot. Just because Alabama's just not going to give up. The main thing is just they got to drive. Don't hit the threes because you haven't hit a 3 to save your life the whole game. Keep on driving and then fouling, and we're certainly back in the ball game on that. And you did what? We did 100 points, 102 points with about 2 minutes left to go in the first half. But this is way it should have been, Joe. The first half. I mean, what they've done the second half shooting-wise is really what we anticipated the whole game. Unfortunately, it just didn't happen. They weren't hitting their shots the whole game. So, Alabama's hit a couple of threes second half. Really not that many. What were they, 2 of 19? They're now 5 of 25. They stopped taking them, right? They took 19 threes in the first half. They've taken 6 in the second half. Good for Nate Oates.
We're at 168 points. We're at 168 points, Scott. 68. We've got how much time left on the clock? 51 seconds, right?
Yeah. So
this is crazy. This is a good game out there on the court. I couldn't imagine, though, if Bama from the very start was able to sink those balls because they should have been able to. This is a team that really is so much stronger at getting those baskets than we saw in that first half. How high this game could have gone, right? Like what could have been, both teams would have hit in the hundreds.
Yeah, honestly. They probably would have. You're right about that. I mean, both teams, not just Alabama. You look at Auburn shooting. It's picked up a little bit here second half, but it's only 46%. You would think a team that's got now 89 points, they're at the free throw line, close to 90 points, it would be shooting 50%, right? No. 40% from 3, not bad, but only 12 of 30. So it's just been shots. I mean, Auburn has 65 shots, Alabama 67. That's 132 shots. By comparison's sake, how about we'll go to Texas A&M, Arkansas. How many shots did they have? They combined for 105.
Okay.
So we already have 30 more shots, and this game's not even over. Typical game has about 100, and we're at 137. So 90 to 80.
To the wire.
We're going
Got
to the free throw
171 points, Scott. Need what?
Wow.
100 and what was the highest? 175 and a half? 170.
Yeah.
I know.
I think it actually got to like 180 for a second or two. It did get to like 181, and then it dropped to 170. So let's see if we can get to 180, and that'll be the real goal for us.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week, to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Skovron, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins. St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, 1 down, about 6 or 7 more to go. So Alabama, Auburn. Welcome back in Game Live, Scott and Joe. So we got Alabama hitting a layup after Auburn missed 2 free throws. 39 seconds left. Auburn's going to the free throw line. We're at 173, Joe. So the 172, the original number hit. Let's see how high we can go. Like I said, I think I saw it at one point, and it wasn't up there long. It's one of those where you really probably couldn't have had a chance to get it in. But I did see like 181.5 for a second or two. So realistically, it was in the 170s or less. So let's see if we can get to 180. I think we can. I really do. As long as Dopey Auburn makes their free throws, because they just clunked 2 free throws. So they're at the line now. We're at 173. And as long as Alabama does what they did their last possession, and that's just drive right to the bucket and go get an easy 2, we're okay. In fact, Auburn missed another pair of free throws. Holy fudge. They may lose this Dopey. Wow. This is like, UConn and Seton Hall, because Alabama just hit a shot, and now it's 90-85, 31 seconds left.
Wow. Okay. So then people, if they got that late number, 173.5 went over, 174.5 went over. I told you I wasn't a jinx, Scott. Come on. We just had to put that positive affirmation out in the universe. Either goes one way or the other. So let's see if we can get it over. Let's see if we can get 180 in this. That'd be great.
Listen, Alabama's got a foul, right? As long as, the normalcy of college basketball, it probably will. The normalcy is Auburn inbounds the ball, they get fouled, they go hit 2 free throws. The craziness, if you're sitting on the under at like 176.5 or so, is, all right, you need Auburn to throw the ball away, and Alabama gets the ball, and then they shoot and they miss, and then they get the rebound, and they shoot and miss. And then maybe eventually Auburn gets the ball, they get fouled, they hit 1 free throw, Alabama misses, and then the ball game ends 91-85. Like there's scenarios where it could still go under. But if the normal routine is you foul, you hit 2 free throws, you come back down the court, you get your layup, and you just kind of play out the game. But 90-85, I'm assuming they're going to foul here. I think they went to the monitor to see if there was goaltending or not, which it was.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think about your overtime bet? Both of us holding those overtime tickets,
that's right.
plus
I forgot about that.
1,500 going into this
Yeah.
game, right? It's a 5-point game, right?
Yeah.
It could get there.
It could get there if the guy hits 1 or 2 free throws here. It makes it a 2-possession or keeps it a 2-possession game. You know, you would think somewhere along the line, Alabama would say, all right, we got to start throwing threes up here. And 2s are nice, but it's not getting the job done. You know, down 6, you hit a 2, you're still down 2 possessions. What'd you accomplish, right? I mean, you are running out of time here. I hate that phrase, you know, value. Here's the 2 phrases I hate. Gambling phrase, value. I hate that. You either like the bet or you're not. I don't care if it's 100 to 1 or 10 to 1. And then extend the game in college basketball. You hear announcers say that, just foul, take the 2, extend the game. Well, eventually you got to decide to win the game, right? You just can't take 2s when you're down, 10 points. You need to make some 3s. So Auburn hits 2 free throws, 92-85, 21 seconds left. So they're going to win. They're going to cover. It's probably not going overtime. It's just whether they get to 180 points or not.
Yeah, which Bama's throwing them up, trying to hit those 3s. And because they're trying to hit those 3s, it's just not looking pretty out there, Scott. So I don't know if we'll get to 180 now because they're just playing erratic. So they're not. Like, those weren't nice 3s they tried to throw up.
But we got to 177 with 21 seconds left. And I think Auburn's going to the free throw line because they did. They hoisted some 3s and it wasn't even close. And then there was a scramble for the ball. Yeah, I think an Alabama player fouled an Auburn player. So, all right. Number 1 looks like they're going to stay number 1. I mean, that's the big picture. Auburn's going to win. We're gonna get there. Hit a free throw. We're at 93-85. FanDuel's sleeping at the wheel here. They're not updating the score for some reason.
They don't. They're not taking any more bets on this game. They're done. Right? Everything's been locked up for the last minute.
Exactly. So, are they going to foul? Bama turned the ball over.
No. Doesn't look like they will. 9 seconds left, I'm seeing, Scott. Looks like we're just going to stay under the 185 basket from deep.
We got 179, though. Yeah, right. I mean, most of the numbers, I thought we'd get to 180, but, most of the numbers were in the 170s. So, unfortunately, if you played at that 181, 180 or so, then you end up losing. But otherwise, you hit. And that didn't look good. How many points did they score in the second half? It has to be close to 100, right? I mean, I think they did. What was it, 70? In fact,
we saw 52 points apiece in the second half, Scott. Exactly.
Wow.
52 points each, so 104 points in the second half. So, yeah, nicely over that 102.
Alabama didn't cover second half, too. Late in the 3.5.
Wow.
That's right.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Wow.
I tell you what, this was a really impressive. This is the first time I've watched Auburn. I've only seen them like 3 or 4 times. And, there's so many teams, you can't watch all of them, right? So the one game was Tennessee. They lost. The other game was Tennessee the first time. Who was it? The Tennessee the first time, it was an ugly, ugly game. They won. Who'd they lose to the other day where the team couldn't miss? I forget. But they lost that game. Like, this is the first time I've watched, as much as we can watch a game, Auburn play where they actually look good. I mean, they look, This was not a fluke. This was not Alabama led by a lot, let their guard down. This was basically Auburn leading from start to finish. I'm impressed. I really am.
Yeah, I don't even remember a point where we actually saw Bama take a lead, Scott. Like, was there a point where they were up by 1 or 2 points? Because I don't remember seeing that. And if it was only for a mere matter of seconds out there because Auburn seemed to really dominate this game from start to finish. Every time Bama got one of those runs in that brought this game close, then Auburn just answered right back. What a game for Auburn. Yeah. Congratulations, Auburn fans.
I don't think Alabama had the lead and the ball one time. I'll double check. But, yeah, they had the lead. It was taken away the very next possession. All right, in-game live. Continue to turn the thread.
slow play drumbeat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scover and when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who know how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams, who's got the best goaltending? Over, you're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins. St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night, but it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, hour number 3, closing it up. 1 full hour to go, so don't go anywhere. It is over. You know, Alabama, or check that, Auburn does win 94-85. They win by 9. They cover. Game does go over, goes over most of the numbers. They combined for 104-point second half, which only goes to show, as bad as the first half was, so only 75 points. This could have been a 110 to 105 game if they would have played a much better first half. But ultimately, Auburn flexed its muscles, Joe, showed why it's the number 1 team in the country. Well, I tell you what, they shot 46%, 40% from 3. Only 69% from the free throw line, but they were the better team. And, you know, watching them play as much as we could, it's like if they played 10 times, I think Auburn would win 7. I really do. The one thing I noticed, which I was surprised with, they were so much bigger than Alabama. I mean, this Auburn team is going to be a tough out. I know they lost to the Dookie Pukies earlier this season, but, man, they're big, they're fast, they're athletic. You know, they got to shoot a little bit better to win a national championship, but they're, you know, obviously the number 1 team in the country. Not saying nothing that, you know, nothing anyone knows, but they are going to be a tough outcome tournament time. They are.
Yeah, and they're sitting at plus 290 to take it all right now, followed by Duke at plus 450, Scott, and then Houston at plus 1,000. So Bama is at plus 1,000 as well. You're right, though. This Auburn team, there's something special this season. I look at how I went about this game. I did take it to the over. That was able to cash. I had it to the overtime. That didn't cash. And then I look at my player props, Scott, and I'm shaking my head at how we got so many points out there. And I played 4 players for their props. 0 were able to hit. You know, Miles Kelly of Auburn, I had for 3+ threes. He hit 2. I had Brome coming out here for 20+ points. He hit 19. I had Aiden Holloway for 11.5 points, ulting him out to 15.5 as well for plus money. He had 10. And Mark Sears for 3+ threes. He had 2. So those player props absolutely crushed me today in this game, even though we had a higher scoring one.
Yeah, my SGP got blown up as well. Providence actually leads Villanova 36 to 24. So it only 60 points. I had the over 67.5, and then I had Villanova to score 20 points first, which did not happen. So cross that one off the board. I'm surprised. Villanova is playing well. Providence is not. Just goes to show how difficult it is to win on the road. So 36-24. Yeah, that was a tough one. What else? My overtime didn't happen with Minnesota USC. Minnesota ends up winning, though, on the road. As I told you, I thought they had a halfway decent chance of hanging around that game. They actually win outright, so that's lost. Alabama, Auburn, another one of those. That did not happen, so I'm down to 3. We still got a fighting chance here. We just need 2 to win some money. So Wake Forest and SMU, they are playing right now, and Wake Forest leads 31-28 late first half. So, okay, so that's looking halfway decent as far as a possibility of overtime. So at least we got that, and then we get the hockey later on tonight. And then my fourth one was Michigan State, Illinois, going to overtime. Okay. So our little 5-team overtime game. Anything else on the board before we hit the top of the hour break here? That the LSU down 6 against Oklahoma, Oregon State and Pacific tied at 40. Anything on the board that you like right now?
Not really, Scott. I was looking at some of these smaller schools. You look here at Grambling State versus Texas Southern. We got a tight game between those two. It's a 50-48 game. We're in the second half right now with 12 minutes left. We are getting Texas Southern with that great plus money at plus 158. I do think I'm going to use the phrase that you absolutely hate. There's value in that line of plus 158 with Texas Southern here. I didn't know you didn't like that word, and now it's like the word that keeps coming to my mind every time I want to say something. And I'm not doing it just to get under your skin, I promise.
That's okay. No, it's just when people make bets based on just value, that's what really kind of irks me. It's like, okay, because I use it all the time. It's just no big deal, right? It's just like, oh, okay, I like this team because it's 7. It's like the story I always tell people. I used to go to the racetrack with a buddy, and I would say, okay, what horse do you like? He likes Billy Bob. How come? Well, he's 8-1. He's this, he's that, and blah blah blah. Okay, then 10 minutes later, he says he's going to bet the other horse. I'm like, what happened to Billy Bob? Yeah, but the odds got lowered. It's like, so what? You either like the horse or you don't. I mean, whether it's 8-1 or 4-1, what's the difference? You either like, so that's the kind of like the value. If you just bet it because it's got value, bet it over. All right, now we're going to
slow play drum beat grows louder and louder every week to the point now that they're making overt references to it on the broadcast.
So there's plenty of other guys that have to get faster. Tom definitely is more deliberate in his conversations, always has been since he's been on tour. I just think about Joe Scavern, when those two started working together, how their conversations always seem to just keep on going and going.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
At some point, these 80s are going to learn we don't need to hire ex-NBA guys. I need guys with college experience who's gone out and recruited, who knows how to develop talent. NBA guys with no college experience don't work in college basketball. I understand they run NBA-style offenses, but it doesn't mean they can run college programs.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
In a short format tournament like this, like the Olympics, now this is even smaller, only 4 teams. Who's got the best goaltending? You're talking 3 round robin games and then a knockout with 4 teams. So you're playing 5 games.
I'm not sold yet, Mike, on the USA stuff, on the merch, but I think I'm sold on the USA at least being in the final.
Only on SportsGrid.
Patino himself, in a clip that we just played, said basically the stats are not backing up the team's wins. St. John's is offensive glass. That's where a lot of opportunities for St. John's came from. St. John's does not shoot the basketball well. It might even be fair to say they shoot it poorly. They were 3 of 16 from deep last night. But it doesn't seem to matter to them.
Newswire. only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back in-game live game day, hour number 4 of our 4-hour extravaganza. Scott and Joe for another 60 minutes or so. We got Brady, we got Tom Vecchio coming up next, so don't go anywhere. Still plenty to get to this hour. We got a lot of college basketball. Take a peek at the NBA with the All-Star festivities, and definitely preview USA versus Canada, a little four-nation hockey for sure. Oh, and we'll talk with Nick Hamady, college basketball writer for zonecoverage.com in a couple of minutes. We'll get some college basketball and some NBA thoughts from him. So just for the new viewers, Joe, and new listeners, kind of recap what's going on and what do you like for these games that are going on and you know, some of the 7 o'clock games that we'll run down.
Yeah, we've got the game at the half here between Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Now, this is a game that I was high on Ole Miss to be able to put those points up on the board in the first half here. They've only been able to put up 33. I'm going to need a lot more out of them in the second half because this was part of my same game parlay. In that, I did look for Ole Miss to go over 75.5 points, and I do still think they have the ability to come out nice and strong in that second half. I was just trying to look at those players to see where they are sitting at with their points. I looked at Josh Hubbard here of Mississippi State. Now, this team is leading the game right now, and I'm shocked to see he only has 3 points on the board. I have him for over 16.5 points. So if you're able to live bet him and get in with him here, I do think we're going to see more out of him in the second half. And then looking at Sean Padula here, he has 6 points on the board. I need him over 15.5 for my same game parlay. So I combine those 3 bets at plus 387. I'm going to need a lot, Scott, not going to lie, in the second half for that to go the way that I need. I also looked here at Kentucky versus Texas. This one will be kicking off here shortly. And I do think this is going to be a higher scoring game. Now, looking at current odds on that, it's 157.5 is that total. I'm looking for a little bit of regression out of Kentucky's defense, especially against those threes, and for Texas to be able to hit those threes. So when we're looking at this game in our Sports Millions pick'ems, I did take Trey Johnson higher than the 2.5 threes, but I do think you can look at him just for the game as a whole too, and look at his points in this game to go over his number. I'm drawing a blank right off the top of my head at his number. Let me just pull that up for you because I did take it. Yeah, it's 21.5 plus 100 to the over 21.5 points for Trey Johnson. I'm expecting him to be able to do that. And if you want to play his threes on Sports Millions, take it higher than the 2.5. If you're looking on FanDuel, 3+ threes is coming in at minus 102. So I think it's a great way to go. I think we're going to have a strong performance here in this matchup. What about you, Scott? What's grabbing your eye in the next little bit here?
All right. I get the SMU Wake Forest game. We're looking for that to get to overtime in our round-robin overtime parlay. 34-32 at the half. Not bad. Did think we'd get some points. I told you at the start of the day that I thought the 7.5 was a little too fat. Kind of had the same thinking with Minnesota USC, which actually won outright. I just thought the number was just too big. So I was willing to take, because we were getting value on Wake Forest and Minnesota, I thought, today. So it's still 5.5. It's still not bad. I would take even 5.5 if you haven't, bought in yet. Obviously 7.5 is a little better, but Wake Forest showing that, they're hanging tough. They're only down 2 on the road. Why not? Over under is 141 now in a half. It's just ticked down a little bit lower. So that's the main one. There was one other that I wanted to throw out there with you with the Mississippi State and Ole Miss. 40-33, Mississippi State on the road leading. Very surprised. I really am. This would be a real good win. They won in overtime the first game. It's tough to beat a team, twice in one season, especially a rivalry game like this. You're getting Ole Miss plus 4.5, 164 on the money line. Over under 152.5. I wouldn't fool around with that, but I'd take the 4.5. At home, that's a big enough number. Normally, I would just say, give me the money line, right? At plus 164, which is pretty good. But 4.5 is a pretty good number. that means you could foul in the end a couple times and still cover the spread if you're down a point or so. So I'd be surprised if they ended up, not winning this game outright, to tell you the truth, because I did like them originally. So always leave a little shekel or two on the side to see if things don't go the right way. It's not. So now would be the time I would double down. Give me Ole Miss plus the 4.5. And then Villanova, I'm really surprised. I played Providence, but they have so many injuries. I can't believe Villanova is going to just roll over, Joe. They're playing their best basketball this season. They're down 12. I know that. You're getting 7.5. Maybe even a little sprinkle plus 340 on the money line. I wouldn't be adverse to doing something like that as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to doing it either, Scott. I think it's a great way to go. And you and I talked about LSU and Oklahoma. This was a game both of us really didn't love. Now, I've been watching the line between these two, and we haven't seen the value where I wanted to jump in on Oklahoma. They're at the half, actually, the second half just kicking off. Oklahoma leading 35-29. But this was a game that both of us really felt the live betting opportunity if LSU could be able to come out and be able to put some points on the board, go on a little bit of run and bring this down to Oklahoma, laying 3.5, we'd both feel a lot more comfortable. So we're not seeing that right now. We still have an 8.5 point spread, but just to know if anyone is watching this game live, watch for those runs because that's where Scott and I are looking to jump in. So I think that's a good one. I do also think that Presbyterian and Longwood, this total I don't think is high enough. Scott, 148.5. I'd be willing to take that to the over right now. It's minus 122. We just kicked off the second half. This is a 38-36 game out here. Neither of these teams play a lot of defense. So I think it should be a higher scoring one.
All right. If you really want to go down into the depths of despair, we have, yeah, right? Well, why not? Bellarmine versus West Georgia. Bellarmine, I think, has 3 wins, maybe 2. West Georgia has 3 wins, maybe 4. It was close to pick them to start. Why bother, right? But my philosophy is if they're willing to play it, I'm willing to bet it. We kind of owe them if you're going to go to the effect of having referees and scorekeepers and fans are going to pay homage to it and bet the game. So Bellarmine's up 10, 40-30 as a 2.5 point favorite. Again, they got like 2 wins on the season, literally. They're laying 9.5 with a minute and a half left to go in the first half. Over under 155.5. You're actually getting points from these 2 goofy teams. I'm going to throw a little flyer. Why not? Give me West Georgia plus 9.5. I know they stink, but so does Bellarmine, Bellarmine, however you just pronounce their name. Give me West Georgia plus 9.5, Joe.
You gotta love digging deep and getting those schools that no one's really talking about. I want to talk about Syracuse so quick. They were 8.5 point dog at home. Now, here at the half, they're 11.5 points. They can't lose this by double digits, can they? Scott, North Carolina up in this one, 42-34. I like Syracuse plus the 8.5. I'm going to have to jump back in. Plus 11.5 at minus 114. I think they can turn this around in the second half. What do you think? Anything from Syracuse? Any love?
I tell you what, I can't bet it, but I do have the game on, actually. I watched a few minutes of it, and boy, North Carolina's hitting their shots today. I will say that they're going up and down the court, both teams. I would say go with the over, if anything, because both teams are flying. Both teams are running and gunning. North Carolina's hitting their shots. They got their A game. I wouldn't lay wood with them because they're more than capable of blowing things. But I do like the over in the game. So
158.5. It's nice. It's a good over, Scott. I like that.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It really isn't. And it's in that position where there's a big enough lead. You get some fouling in the end. Kind of like the over in Alabama game. So, all right, more coming up. In-game live game day on the grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there. A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. We are rolling. Scott Wetzel, Joe Madden until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Brady Cannon, Tom Vecchio take over, but we'll keep things occupied until then. Talking a little college basketball, a little NBA with the NBA All-Star festivity stuff going on, open in San Francisco, California. We'll get to that in a second as we talk some hoops with our good buddy Nick Hamity, college basketball writer, NBA writer as well. ZoneCoverage.com. Check out all his action. ZoneCoverage.com. Follow him on Twitter at the Real Tiny Nick. I won't ask what that reference is, Nick, but welcome aboard. How are you, my friend?
It's what happens when you do a show with a bunch of guys that are 6'6" or taller. So you end up as Tiny Nick as a 5'10" guy.
There you go. There you go. College basketball tonight. Let's hop to. Well, let me ask you as far as what happened today. Give me your impressions. Auburn. Joe and I were tracking that one. Obviously, the big matchup against Alabama, and we were both impressed. I mean, that was not a fluky 9-point win. They led that thing from start to finish. Your impressions on that game and any other action earlier today?
Yeah, I think Auburn, as an Iowa State fan, I got a good look at them early in the season. I think they're a team to beat. I really do think that they're probably the best team in the country, in my opinion. Definitely top three, and their play has reflected that. A game that I was watching was the Iowa State game. Iowa State showed up. They've won 3 straight, as I talked to you before the show about. And Iowa State needs to get back on track in the Big 12 right now. Big matchup coming up against Houston. That's going to dictate if Iowa State remains in the top 10, top 5, which is obviously going to be huge for seeding coming up in a couple weeks.
Okay, looking at one of our top 25 matchups later tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll see the matchup between Kansas and Utah. Now we have a total of 145.5 in this game, with Kansas, of course, the favorite. 6.5 is the spread here. Where are you going with this game?
Yeah, when this spread opened up, it opened up a little bit bigger. I was waiting for it to come down. 7 was kind of the number I was looking for, so the line has actually moved inside of the Ken Pom and Torvik projection of 7. So for me, it was time to jump in here. Utah is simply too reliant on three-point shooting. Kansas is actually 9th in the country for three-point percentage defense. And Utah simply hasn't proven that they're ready for Big 12 basketball yet to me. They've gotten absolutely blown out by the class of the Big 12, being Baylor, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Houston, 0-5 ATS in those matchups. And I just don't see them coming through in a game against a conference blue blood like Kansas that Bill Self knows better than anyone. You can't lose a game like this, and you got to blow out a team like Utah to be able to, climb the ranks in their own seeding for the NCAA tournament and the Big 12 tournament at that.
Yeah. Love looking off the radar. I really do, Nick. In fact, don't ask why, but I actually had to play on Lamar versus East Texas State A&M today, right? I mean, so your next couple picks I really do enjoy. Montana, not that Montana's that far off the beaten radar, but still, Montana versus Weber State. Yeah, exactly. It's far enough, right? Montana laying 9.5, over under 145.5. Where are you going with this one?
The over was so intriguing, but I needed to find something that made a little bit more sense to me. So I actually zeroed in on Montana team total over of 78.5. Montana likes to score. They play fast in the Big Sky Conference, and Montana is bouncing back from a 4-game stretch last month where they averaged only 63.3 points per game, including 63 against a Weber State team. Weber is 313th in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. They need to score more than 63 in a game like this, and I think that they're going to try to make a statement, especially being that the Grizzlies have scored over 84 points per game in their last 6 since that rough patch. Ken Pom and Torvik both have Montana scoring over 80 points in this game. I'm going to roll with what the projections say, and simply going up against a horrible defense, fast pace of play. Montana is the class of the Big Sky Conference often. I expect Montana to show up in a game like this.
Okay, let's look for Montana to show up in that one. Then I love where you're going. Now, what about Cal Poly here? Cal Poly out there on the road. They're a 10.5-point dog tonight, taking on USC Northridge, and we got a total of 171.5. This total is high. It's almost as high as what we were seeing between Auburn and Alabama. Can this one go over the total? And if not, where are you going?
I was surprised to see this one start as low as it started, to be honest with you guys. The total's actually been rising all day. It started at, I think, 168.5 from when I saw it. It's now over 170.5. But these teams both play with their hair on absolute fire. So Cal Poly, and this isn't even in conference. This is nationally. Cal Poly is 3rd in the country in adjusted tempo, and they have the shortest offensive possession length in the country right now, which I'm a big pace of play guy when I hit these overs. And Northridge is 8th in both of these categories as well. So you got 2 top 10 teams in pace in the entire country going up against each other. Poly also takes the 5th most threes per game in the country. So as long as those are falling, these two teams played up in the 190s last time they faced off. I expect this game to be another 193. I expect this game to be another shootout, going over 170.5.
All right. How about the little NBA All-Star festivities in San Francisco? We got the 3-point contest. I think most people, Nick, are going Damian Lillard. At least I am, just because he's from San Fran. You're getting 3-1, but who do you like in this contest?
Yeah, I can't go with Big Cat this year. I love rolling with Karl Anthony Towns, being a Timberwolves fan. My heart's been broken from that trade. Luka kind of distracted us in Minnesota from that one for a little bit, but we still feel the pain there. I'm going to go with his running mate, Jalen Brunson's first round over of 22.5. Jalen Brunson hit 24 in the first round last year against 4 guys that went absolutely nuclear. So Jalen Brunson last year didn't make it to the second round because he went up against maybe the best class of 3-point shooters that we've seen in a 3-point contest in a while. But he's going to go over 22.5 in the first round. And I'm also going to go with Buddy Hield to win the event at plus 500. He lost by 1 point in the championship a couple of years back. He's got a quick release. And just like Jalen Brunson, these guys don't have to shoot over anybody in the 3-point contest. They're set shooters. These guys love to just fire them off. And they're not shooting over, double teams and all that type of stuff, especially for Jalen Brunson. I expect these guys to have consistent shooting form. And I expect Jalen Brunson and Buddy Hield to make a good run today.
Cool. Nick, great job, man. Check out his work at zonecoverage.com. He's got picks on everything, stories on everything, college basketball, NBA, you name it. It's there. Zonecoverage.com. Nick, great job, man.
Thanks for your time.
gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You want me to solve all this tush-push and fourth down malarkey that goes on with the officials? Here's a crazy idea. Get rid of the worst rule in the NFL, and that is forward progress. How about this? Where I knock your ass in the ground is where the ball goes, period. Let's end this whole conversation. Like, if I drop it back 4 yards, then you lost 4 yards. If we get rid of forward progress, this tush-push and everything else is taken care of. Where I put your tail on the ground is where the ball goes, end of conversation. It's the dumbest rule and the most arbitrary rule. The only thing that is a worse call in the NFL than forward progress is the punt that goes out of bounds when you watch the official walk down the sideline having absolutely no clue where that ball crossed over. All I can think of is that Price is Right game go do-de-do-de-do, do-de-do-de-do, as he's walking down the sideline, arbitrarily trying to figure out where the ball crossed over because he's got no clue.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Getting set for little NBA festivities. We got some hockey stuff to go over before we're through it, and obviously a lot more college basketball. So just to go over Nick's picks one more time in case you missed them. He likes Kansas laying 6.5. He's got Montana team total over 78.5. Cal Poly team total over 100, or the game rather. 170.5. That'd be a big number for anyone, one team. Over 170.5. He likes Jalen Brunson in the NBA All-Star festivities. First round in the three-point shootout, over 22.5 points. And then Buddy Hield to win the three-point shootouts at +5 to 1. So I wouldn't go crazy with this stuff, folks. Joe, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I'll put a couple shekels just because it's on. I'm really probably going to be watching most of the hockey, to tell you the truth, but it's there. So three-point shootout, I'll go Damian Lillard. He's +290, 3 to 1, depending on where you do your shop. And he's from San Francisco or Oakland, actually. All-Star game is in San Francisco, so a little, karma there. Maybe he's going to try. He won last year. He's going to repeat. If he doesn't, it's not because he's not trying. So I'll go Damian Lillard +290. They have a skills competition, which I don't even know what they do, but I'll just take Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley for Cleveland team Cavs at +2 to 1. And then the slam dunk competition, with four guys that most people have never heard of. Stephen Castle used to play for UConn last year. Andre Jackson Jr. played for UConn 2 years ago. Manus Buzelis, and then Mac McClung. Mac McClung has won 2 years in a row. So it's kind of funny. Like, FanDuel's not offering, not that it's that disappointing, but I don't see any slam dunk odds. Do you on FanDuel?
No, I don't see any at all. So I see all the three-pointers and those first rounds, but no slam dunk. If I was going to go somewhere, Scott, and we talked during the break, this is just, I don't trust NBA players on a good day to hit the court and really have motivation. I think one player, though, I really do like is Tyler Hero to come out nice and strong and be able to sink those baskets. So I would look at Tyler Hero in the first round to go over 23.5. That's coming in at -125. For him to win it all, I think you're probably on the money with Damian Lillard. So I would stay off of him, but he is 5 to 1 to win it all.
Yeah, it's difficult. Like I said, I wouldn't put a whole lot into this stuff. Maybe with the slam dunk, it's because they have to be judged, and they want to stay away from any kind of judging contests. But I mean, they have Cy Youngs and MVPs, and that's all voting as well versus actually performing on the field. So, not sure why they would have the 3-point and then the skills, but maybe that's it. Maybe they stay away from those judgment type of things, but. Yeah, the NBA is going out of its way, Joe, to really try and make this thing interesting. And you know what? It's not. I mean, these guys that are doing the slam dunk competition, I mean, no one's ever heard of them. I mean,
no.
I don't get why the star players, I brought this up last night with SharePad. I don't understand why the star players are so afraid. What are they, they're embarrassed to lose. So what? They lose a slam dunk. I mean, who cares? No one's going to be like laughing at them like, oh my God, we're not going to like Shaq. Not going to like Giannis or whoever, Shaq. You're not going to like LeBron. I mean, what are they afraid of?
They're afraid of you pointing and laughing, Scott. We know that you'd point and laugh and you'd bring it back up every other single show. No, I don't know what they're afraid of. I just wish the NBA would do what the NHL is doing this year. Let's have a 4 nations in the NBA. It would be so much better. Yeah. Than the product we see in these all-star events, because you're right, the big players don't want to play. Imagine if you could come out and play for your team and we saw that instead of this, like we're seeing out there on the ice. It'd be so much better, such a better product. So hopefully, maybe next year, Scott. I hope so.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, maybe they'll see how popular the hockey thing is this season. I mean, they certainly have enough foreign players that they could support, 2, 3, 4 different teams. I know Team USA would be the overwhelming favorite. I get that, but listen, maybe it's Team USA versus everybody else, something along those lines. But I don't know. Team Shaq, Team Candace, Team Chuck, and Team Kenny. Who cares? I mean, they're making it so difficult to really give a rat's behind about this all-star stuff. Yeah. So, but that's what they're doing. Team Shaq is laying 6.5. I will say I did look at Team Shaq's roster, and it's pretty darn good. Team Candace is the Rising Stars champ. So if you were going to bet it, I would bet Team Shaq laying 6.5 tonight. So we'll look at the hockey when we come back. That's a little bit more serious. 4 nations talking about.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe for another half hour or so, getting set for a little Four Nations hockey, USA and Canada. Dropping the puck in about a half hour or so. We'll get to that in a quick second here, Joe. Just to recap some of the college basketball scores, see if we got anything going on that we want to put anything in on. Oklahoma still up 6 over LSU. Mississippi State still leading by 11 over Ole Miss, extending that lead actually a little bit. 5 minutes into the second half, now laying 8.5 over under 160.5. Nothing out of Villanova so far. Second half against Providence, down 14 now, 46-32. That looks like a clunker from Villanova. No points being scored in that game either, which is a big surprise to me. And then one of our overtime games, Wake Forest leading SMU. 42-38 early second half. So that's looking halfway decent. Ooh, look at West Georgia making a run against Bellarmine, whatever. 46-45. They were down 10. We grabbed them at 9.5. Now getting 2.5 with 16 minutes left. How about that, Joe? These goofy games can supply some winners just as easily as North Carolina Duke can.
Yeah, absolutely. Love where you went with that. And talking about North Carolina, Syracuse has been able to get a little bit back in this game. They were 11.5-point dog at the half there. They've pulled it to a 5-point game. So they're close to that original spread. It was 8.5 now, plus 7.5 for Syracuse. I wouldn't touch it now. You're not getting the best of the number, but I don't trust North Carolina still to hold onto this lead either. So I think hopefully you guys jumped in at the plus 11.5 or plus 8.5 coming into this game, because I think it stays within those original numbers, Scott.
All right. I'll throw one game at you. Hold on, see if I can put the bet in. The bet was in place because the line changed. All right, let's put it in again. Odds decreased. All right, one more time.
I love how you're putting it in now before you tell all of us so you don't miss that line. Right?
I know.
Hang on, guys. I got a great bet. Give me 5 minutes.
It went higher. It went higher, went lower. How about under Akron Central Michigan? It's 27-25, right? That's 52 points, 4.5 minutes left, and they're giving us 151.5. I don't even know what the number was to start the game. I really don't. I haven't watched a second of it. I haven't watched a second of Akron or Central Michigan all year, to tell you the truth, let alone today. But all I know is that's 100 points. They got 52 points in 16 minutes. How are they scoring 100 over the next 24 minutes? And now it's going down to 148.5.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a good thing that you said, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to get this bet in, because you got it at 151.5, and you're right, 148.5 now, and minus 118 to that under, minus 110 to the over. At what point would you say, okay, it's got to go over this number? Like, are you looking at going over 140 and hitting in between that number, or are you just saying, I'm just staying with an under in this game?
Let me see. I'll wait till halftime. You got 3.5 minutes left. I mean, if we don't get more than 10 points over the next 3.5 minutes, and we probably will, but I mean, they're not on pace for it. I will say that. If I got it down to like 135, I mean, it's 54 points. Let's say they get to, my goal is like 70 points wouldn't be that bad. But if I can get it to like 65, only give up like another 11 points over the next 3.5 minutes, then I think that number is going to come way down. And then maybe I would go middle. And then I would double check and see what the original number was. I'm guessing the original number was pretty high. If they're keeping it close to 150, and then you only have 54 points with 3 minutes left, I'm guessing it was in the 150s. So if I can get it to 140, I'd probably do a little split. Go for the double winner.
Look at that, Scott. Syracuse has made it a 1-point game here. North Carolina only leading 60-59. Could this team actually pull off the upset here at home? They were a 8.5-point dog. They're plus 200 right now on the money line as that continues to drop, plus 196. We've seen those upsets out there. Who got the big upset today in overtime? You had that game.
Seton Hall.
You had the plus points. UConn. Yeah. Yeah. Could Syracuse do it? They could.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we both said, right, that was wacky, that line. I mean, why was North Carolina an 8.5-point road favorite? I mean, they've lost 4 or 5 straight road games. They're not playing well, haven't played really well all season long. That line made no sense to me. So I know they were up 10, they played well, but I'm not surprised that, Syracuse is making a little bit of a run. Really not.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, maybe. I can't bet that because here it's a New York school, but still, it wouldn't shock me if they actually won that game. Boy, North Carolina's in a lot of trouble, especially with Duke being so good. It's one thing for you to be bad. If your rival is bad, it kind of takes the pain away. But with you being bad and the other team being championship caliber, tough year for North Carolina. Fan.
Yeah, definitely. So 60-60 apiece, Scott. Live total 165.5, which is really interesting because with Syracuse getting those points on the board, I don't know. I think it's kind of worth a shot here on Syracuse straight up on the money line. Easy said, though, because I do have them like plus the points going into this game, so it would be a sprinkle here at the plus 220. But I tell you, they have the momentum and they have the size advantage out there. A couple players on North Carolina here just look small on the court next to these Syracuse players. So North Carolina has taken a 1-point lead. I don't know, plus 220. It's worth it for me to sprinkle a little bit on it, Scott.
Yeah, that's not bad. Still waiting for Mississippi to make a run, but Mississippi State, kind of dominating there. All right, we got the Four Nations hockey, Joe, starting top of the hour, probably about 5-10 minutes after that. USA on FanDuel anyway, minus 120 against Canada. Over under is 6.5. We've hit overs 3 straight games, including 4-3 earlier today. Finland knocking off Sweden in overtime. So if I'm doing the calculations right, if USA wins in regulation tonight, they clinch a berth into the championship game. Canada would need some help depending on what happens, how they lose, how they win, everything else. Canada actually would be in a little bit of trouble if they actually lose in regulation. They would have to win their next game. So, but that said, let's just take it for tonight. It was pick'em, but USA is minus 120 on FanDuel. Your thoughts on this game?
I've got to go Team Canada, right? Scott, this is Team Canada all day long. Sure. All of Canada is behind them. Canada can't lose this matchup, like you said. Now, when I got them earlier in the day, it was minus 110. And you look at Sidney Crosby on representing Canada. This team just doesn't lose with him out there on the ice. And I'm also looking at Connor McDavid. I think Connor McDavid held up the scoreboard in the last game. Will come out and net us a goal tonight. I'm taking him for the anytime goal at plus 210. But I also looked at parlaying Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby for a point, and Connor McDavid for a point. Alone, they're way too highly juiced, but together it's coming in at plus 109. So I will do that. I think this one has to be. If Canada's going to get the win, they can't allow Team USA to play like they did in that last game. I'm taking the under 6.5, which I know is a terrifying thing to look at, the under 6.5 between these two teams, but I gotta go there, Scott. I really do think defense, these teams cannot wait to play. You had Matthew Tkachuk interviewed saying he's been waiting his whole life to play this matchup here. Team USA is playing for Johnny Gaudreau, so part of my heart would love to see them be able to get the win, but I'm going to stand proud here with Team Canada to get it done, Scott.
All right. Shots on goal, goalie saves. Jordan Binghamton for Canada, 26.5. Connor Hellebuck for USA from Winnipeg, obviously, 27.5 shots on goal. You think it's going to be a high scoring, or you think it's going to be a high shooting? I know it's not high scoring, but, high shooting game?
Oh, you look at the blue line here for Team USA, and that blue line is strong. I don't know if Canada will get enough shots in this one. Connor Hellebuck should be able to save those shots coming on him, but they're so dead on that number, Scott. I expect him to save 26, 27, and they're giving you 27.5. I can't touch it. Yeah. Same with Jordan Binghamton.
All right, we'll take a look at some of the other props, maybe some goal scorers. First goal, first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes. We'll take a look at the back.
gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe, check it out. USA versus Canada. Dropping the first puck here in about 20 minutes or so, I imagine. So USA is slight favorite, minus 120. USA clinches a spot in the championship game if they were to win in regulation tonight. Canada not eliminated by any stretch, but obviously it's a big, big game. Everyone's taking it so seriously. So we're looking at some of the props here, Joe. The Binghamton one that and Hellebuck is 27.5 saves. I'm into these goalie saves here. Binghamton 26.5. There's so much firepower on this ice. I don't know if we're going to get any power plays or not. We got a bunch, in USA's game. You didn't get that many in Canada's first game. But I'm thinking we're going to get some shots on goal, which means we're going to get some saves. I'm looking to adjust Connor Hellebuck's saves. He's at 27.5, which is interesting that they have Canada getting more shots on goal than the United States. But I would go, they don't give you monster odds on this stuff. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say anything about overtime. Like sometimes, in the regulation, they'll make a note of like, okay, this is only regulation. It doesn't count overtime. But I don't see that on these props on FanDuel anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a halfway decent chance the game goes to overtime. So I'm going to go Hellebuck plus 162, 30 saves or more, maybe 31 at plus 2-1. And maybe even 29.5. He's supposed to get 28, right? So you're not really getting that much more. 2 more shots on goal, and you're getting plus 124 versus laying odds. So 29.5, 30, 29 or more, actually. 30 or more, 31 or more saves for Hellebuck.
Okay, I love where you're going there, just because I do think we're going to see these goaltenders have solid nights in this matchup. So I can get behind that, Scott, even though I do think, it's going to be really tight to those numbers. I can get behind it. I'm with you with overtime, plus 300 for this game to go to overtime. I also think, while I like the under 6.5 for the full game, this could be a game where you see both teams score in the first period, and you're getting value for both teams to score in the first period. You talked about it, the star power of these forwards on both sides. And I think if these goaltenders have any hiccups, it's in that first, and then we see the lockdown in the second, and then we see really the push in the third. So I will take as well, even though I like the under 6.5, both teams score in the first period, coming in at plus 168. And then for everything to really slow down in that second period, under 1.5 goals actually might be something that I bet right now, Scott. The under 1.5 is coming in at plus 158. I really do think it plays out that way. High scoring first, low scoring second. And the third is where, the wheels could fall off that under, but because of overtime, but I'm hoping we go into that third period just sitting 1-1. I would love to see it.
All right. They do offer third period goals over. It's 2.5, but it is plus 148. It's kind of hard to play that if you think the game's going to go under, but I think the game's going to go over. It could be 3-1. You get a goal to make it 4-1. You still need 2 more. I'm counting on at least one empty netter. I think we're going to get some goals tonight, Joe. I got no faith in Binghamton. I know he played well the other day, but it's still Jordan Binghamton. He's not been the Stanley Cup goaltender that he was a few years back. I think USA is good for some goals. And Canada's certainly good for some goals. There's too much firepower on the ice. Yeah. And if they're going to take this thing seriously, I'd be real surprised. So I think I might take a flyer on over 2.5 goals third period at plus 148.
I don't blame you. I really don't, because you look at these lineups and you look at who you've got on each side, Scott, and it feels like you're an insane person if you want to take an under in this game, because we know, Canada's weakness is in net. It is Jordan Binghamton. But I look at this one, and I look at Canada and the game they played versus Sweden. Now, they were able to get the overtime win. They allowed Sweden to get back in that game, but they faced much harder competition than Team USA. Now, Team USA came out so strong versus Finland. They were able to put those goals on the board, but I do think it's going to take them a couple more minutes to be able to score on Canada in this one. So while it could come very tight, I've got to stay with where I originally thought, the under 6.5, but the over 6.5 absolutely feels like the right way to go. Maybe I'm just going opposite picks on you here, Scott. That's what I'm doing. I'm going opposite picks on you.
There you go. As far as goal scorers, listen, it's a crapshoot, right? I mean, who's going to get the most ice time? You go that way, I suppose. Who's taking it more seriously than others? I suppose you could do that. But with the Tkachuk brothers doing so well, is that going to happen again? I mean, chances are, obviously, no, they're not going to score 4 goals. But is one of those two guys going to step up? But Matthew is plus 280. Brady is plus 3-1. I'd take a flyer on Matthew plus 280 to score a goal tonight.
I think Austin Matthews is definitely the way you want to go for Team USA. And looking here at Team Canada, for me, it's Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid yet to light the lamp in the Four Nations competitions. And we know how strong he is out there. He's on that line with Sid, with Nathan McKinnon. And I tell you, their ability to get that puck in the back of the net is second to none. Hence why it makes so much sense that you're riding the over 6.5, Scott. But I think this is going to be a great one. We saw Mika Zibanejad get that goal early for Team Sweden in their loss today. And we saw Mikko Rantanen be able to get a goal as well. Let's look for a couple of players that didn't get a goal in the last one to come out strong. So I'll take Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid. I know the Tkachuk brothers are hard to slow down, but I think this is a harder game for them out there, Scott.
Yeah. How about Sydney to get an assist? Minus 113. That's not bad. Right?
Love it. Plus 330 if you think he gets the goal. Or if you parlay them together, Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, like I did, each for a point, plus 109. I love that bet. It's my favorite.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? I'm surprised they allow you to parlay that stuff. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Yeah, that's you're right. So, yeah, I like Sid to get on the board tonight. You take a chance by doing the assist, but at least that's even money versus a point, which you're going to have to lay odds. So I'll say he's going to defer. 15 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd say a goal, but now, let's go with this. All right, we'll wrap up about that.
gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe wrapping up shop. Got a few more minutes, though. Brady Cannon and Tom Becky will take over at the top. They'll go to midnight Eastern time here on SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid TV. So we're all set with our Four Nations tournament. Should be a lot of fun, but we really do miss the Olympics. Everyone's all into this stuff, so it should be a pretty good Saturday night. Do got a number of college basketball games here, Joe, Saturday night. Let me throw a few at you, get your initial thoughts. Michigan State, number 11 in the country against Illinois, 17-8. Pretty good matchup there. Michigan State's actually lost 3 of their last 4. Tom Izzo, state head coach, needs one more win to set the Big Ten record for most wins by a Big Ten head coach, breaking the mark set by Bobby Knight. They were supposed to do it last game. Indiana came to town and actually won, upset the party. Here's a surprising one. I did not see this. Illinois is a 6.5-point favorite, but Michigan State is 28.8% shooting from three-point land, which to me is it's not good, but it's not like rock bottom. I wouldn't have thought, but that's actually in the bottom 10 in college basketball. Keep in mind, there's 364 Division I teams, and that's in the bottom 10, 28.5, 28.8 to be official percent. So Michigan State did win earlier against Illinois, 80-78 back on January 19th. Illini laying a 6.5. That's a fat number. I'm willing to take the Spartans plus the 6.5. I know it's got sucker written all over it, but I'm going to do it just the same.
Well, then I have sucker written all over me as well, Scott, because that was my first gut instinct when I looked at this game this morning, that it just looks like too many points there for Illinois to be laying, even though they are at home. So let's be suckers together and keep our fingers crossed we're able to get the win in this one.
Yeah, that's a monster number. Kentucky, I know we talked about it, but just to do it again, number 15, 17-7 Kentucky at 15-10 Texas. Got a couple of players that are questionable, so double check if you count on that stuff. A guy from Texas missed 10 games, Weaver, with a hip injury. Their second leading scorer left last game with a knee injury. He's listed as day-to-day, which means who knows if he's going to play or not. Kentucky's second leading scorer, Robinson, missed his first game last time out with a wrist injury, which he suffered in practice. So you got a lot of question marks here. But I like Kentucky. They're 15. Check that. They're 15-2 against the spread last 17 as an underdog. I mean, that's a monster. They're a 2.5-point underdog here. Texas has lost 3 straight. I know they're in a desperate spot, but I'll take Kentucky in this game.
Okay, I don't blame you taking Kentucky. I'm expecting them to put up their share of the points in this one, but for Texas to be able to do so as well. I look at the Texas Longhorns here. They're averaging 79.3 points over their last 4 games, and this Kentucky team has put up at least 80 points in 5 of their last 10. So I'm looking for both of these teams to play at that faster pace, like Kentucky's able to play at. I did take Trey Johnson here for higher on my Sports Millions of the 2.5 threes, but I also took him for over 21.5 points. I think he's in for a big night here for Texas. Now this total has jumped from 157.5 to 158.5. I still like it, Scott. I really do think we hit 160 points in this matchup.
Yeah. I like the over there as well, Joe. South Carolina at Florida. These two teams played about a week and a half or so ago. I don't know if it was last weekend or the weekend before, but went down to the wire. Florida ended up winning with a shot basically at the buzzer, 70-69. They're now laying 14. South Carolina 0-11 in SEC play. They have 6 losses by 6 points or less, so they've been competitive in some games, but 5 of those losses were at home. On the road, their average margin of defeat in the SEC, 18.5 points. I'm going to lay the wood with Florida. Both are strong under teams. May want to go with the under as well, but I think Florida puts a pasting on them tonight.
Yeah, it just has the recipe for that in this matchup. I know 13.5 when you first look at it looks like a lot, but you said it, Scott. This Florida team will be able to just run all over South Carolina in this one, lock down defensively and not allow them to get those shots. I love that under 144.5. It has moved a little bit. I believe it was 145.5, but I still, under 144.5, I'm willing to jump on.
All right. How about the 145.5 Kansas at Utah laying 6.5? Both strong under teams, and Utah 5-0 under at home. I'm going under there, Joe.
Yeah, let's take another under. I know we don't love to bet unders on a Saturday night, but it's going to be a lower scoring one as well, Scott.
There you go. Joe, great job as always. Joe and I will be back tomorrow afternoon, 4 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Brady Ken and Tom Vecchio coming up next right here on the Grid.